Madhava Kunja Bihari Madhava Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Madhava Jaya Gopidana Vallabha Girivara Bhari Jaya Gopidana Vallabha Girivara Bhari Yashodanandana Brajajanarandana Yashodanandana Brajajanarandana Yamuna Tira Vamasari Yamuna Tira Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Madhava Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Madhava Jaya Gopidana Vallabha Girivara Bhari Jaya Gopidana Vallabha Girivara Bhari Yashodanandana Brajajanarandana Yashodanandana Brajajanarandana Yamuna Tira Yamuna Tira Vanasari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Madhava Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai Radha Madhura Madhura, Jai Radha Madhura Madhura, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Prabhupada. Gaura Premanande. Jayam Vishupad Paramahamsa Pri Vradgacharya Stotra Sapta Sri Srimad His Divine Grace Hirabai Charanaravan Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki ISKCON DBT Founder Chariots Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada Ki Namasarya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Samaveta Bhaktivedanta Ki Harinam Sankirtan Ki Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jani Tagore Premanande, all gladies to be assembled devotees, all gladies to be assembled devotees, all gladies to be assembled devotees, all gladies to Sri Guru to Sri Gauranga, all gladies to Sri Prabhupada. Om Agyanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Dakshiramritam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Juta Parakamalam Shri Gurun Vaisnavam Sya Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Ragunatam Vitam Tvam Sadivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lita Vivisakanditam Sya Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kantana Gourangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vansakalpa Tarubhyasya Vipa Sindhubhya Evasya Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Narayanam Namaskritya Ram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraya. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, let us first offer respectful obeisances unto Narayana, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, unto Nara Rishi, the Supremost Human Being, unto Mother Saraswati, the Goddess of Learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta Prayasabhadvideshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Tamasloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki. By regularly hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam and by rendering a service unto the pure devotee, all that is troublesome within the heart becomes destroyed practically to nil, and loving devotional service unto the Supreme Lord, who is praised with transcendental songs, becomes established as an irrevocable fact. Idam Bhagavatam Nama Puranam Brahma Samhitam Uttama Charitam Chakara Bhagavan Rishi Nishreya Sayalokasya Tasyaya Namaha. This Srimad Bhagavatam, known as the Grantaraj, the king of all Vedic literatures, is the literary incarnation of God. It is compiled by the incarnation of God, Sridham Vyasadeva. It is meant for the ultimate good of all people. It is all successful, all blissful, and all perfect. Sri Krishna Chaitanya,
Shri Krishna Chaitanya,
Prabhu Nityananda,
Prabhu Nityananda,
Sri Advaita Gadadhara, Sri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
Krishna Krishna,
Hare Rama, Hare Rama,
Hare Rama, Hare Rama,
Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Rama Hare
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Sarabhyaya Namaha. Om Sarabhyaya Namaha. Om Sarabhyaya Namaha. Mukham karoti vachalam pangum langayate girim. Kripa tamaham bande Sri Gurum Dinataranam. Yat kripa tamaham bande Sri Gurum Dinataranam. Hare Krishna. Welcome to our morning Bhagavatam class. Continuing to read from canto number 2, chapter 6, entitled Purusha Sukta Confirmed. And we have read 13 to 16 yesterday. Whoops. Text number 17. Swa Dhishnyan Pratapan Prano Bahish Cha Pratapati Asau Evam Virajam. There it is. Pratapam Tapati Antar Bahi Puman Swadhishyam Pratapan Prano Bahischa Pratapatyasu Bahischa Pratapatyasau Evam Virajam Pratapam Tapatyantara Bahi Puman Swadhisnyam Pratapan Prano Bahischa Pratapatyasau Evam Virajam Pratapam Tapatyantara Bahi Puman Swadhisnyam Pratapan Prano Bahischa Pratapatyasau Evam Virajam Pratapam tapatyantara bahi pumanna.
Tapatyanta Vahi Puman Swadhisnyam Pratapan Prana
Swahisnyam pratapan prano.
Varishya Pratapasyasam
Bahishya pratapatyasau.
Evam Virajam Pratapam
Evam virajam pratapam.
Tapatyanta Vahi Puman
Tapatyantara bahi pumanna. Swadhisnyam pratapam prano. Bahishya pratapatyasau. Evam virajam pratapam. Tapatyanta bahi puman. You should practice. Swadhisnyam pratapanna prano. Asau. Pratapatyasau. Evam virajam pratapam.
Tapatya Antarbahi Puman Tapatyantarbahi Puman
Swadhisnyam.
Swadhisnyam
Radiation. Radiation. Below. Pratapan. By expansion. Prana. Living energy. Bahihi. External. Cha. Also. Pratapati. Illuminated. Asau. The sun. Evam. In the same way. Virajam. The universal form. Okay. Pratapan. By expansion of. Tapati. Enlivens. Antaha. Internally. Bahihi. Externally. Puman. The Supreme Personality. You can get my iPod. Yeah. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki. The sun illuminates both internally and externally by expanding its radiation. Similarly, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, by expanding His unique, His universal form, maintains everything in the creation, both externally, internally, and externally. Kindly repeat after me. The sun illuminates both internally and externally by expanding its radiation. Similarly, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, by expanding His universal form, maintains everything in the creation, both internally and externally. Purport. The universal form of the Lord, or the impersonal feature of the Lord, known as the Brahmajyoti, is clearly explained here and compared to the radiation of the sun. The sunshine may expand all over the universe, but the source of the sunshine, namely the sun planet or the deity known as Surya Narayana, is the basis of such radiation. Similarly, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the basis of the impersonal Brahmajyoti radiation, or the impersonal feature of the Lord. This is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita 14:27. So, the universal form of the Lord is the secondary imagination of the impersonal form of the Lord. But the primary form of the Lord is Shamashundara, with two hands playing on his eternal flute. "75% of the expansive radiation of the Lord is manifested in the spiritual sky, Tripad Vibhuti, and 25% of his personal radiance comprehends the entire expansion of the material universe." This is also explained and stated in the Bhagavad Gita 10:42. Thus, the 75% expansion of his radiation is called his internal energy, whereas the 25% expansion is called the external energy of the Lord. The living entities who are residents of the spiritual as well as the material expansions are his marginal energy, Tatastha Shakti, and they are at liberty to live in either of the energies, external or internal. Those who live within the spiritual expansions of the Lord are called liberated souls, whereas the residents of the external expansion are called the conditioned souls. We can just make an estimate of the number of the residents of the internal expansions in comparison with the number of residents in the external energy, and may easily conclude that the liberated souls are far more numerous than the conditioned souls. Translation again. The sun illuminates both internally and externally by expanding its radiation. Similarly, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, by expanding his universal form, maintains everything in the creation both internally and externally. Okay. So here, the word virajam is referring to the universal form of the Lord, evam virajam, evam virajam, yes. And then there's also, we were talking about the viraj, uh, mm, viraj river, yeah. This is from the Srimad Bhagavatam, second canto, on the topic of that will come. Yeah, we are now in the second canto, but we are in chapter 6. In chapter 9, maybe, yes, it is here. Chapter 9. Chapter 9, there will be reference to the Viraj river. So practically the same name, but different meaning here. The marginal line between the material manifestation and the spiritual manifestation is the Viraja river. And beyond the Viraja, which is a transcendental current flowing from the perspiration of the body of the Lord, there is the three-fourths manifestation of God's creation. So same thing is referred to here. The material creation is 1/4, 25% of the Lord's creation, and 3/4 is the spiritual world. Yes. And here it continues to describe a little bit. This part is eternal, means the spiritual world is eternal, without deterioration, and unlimited. And it contains the highest perfectional stage of living conditions. Yes. So the point being explained here, the nice comparison being given of the sun rays, the sun rays are emanating from the sun planet, whose predominating deity is the personality known as Surya Narayana. So, as the translation is explaining here, the sun illuminates both internally and externally by expanding its radiation. Similarly, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, by expanding his universal form, maintains everything in the creation, both internally and externally. So just like the sun is very, very powerful, there are many suns in each universe. There is one sun, and it is due to the presence of the sun that uh, all the living entities are dependent on the sun rays. Just like if no sunshine, we cannot see in darkness. If no sunshine, there is no growth, no food production. The sun gives both light as well as heat. Just like now it's become very popular, solar power. In some places, they have many what we call solar panels. So the sun is, although very far away, the rays of the sun are everywhere. So similarly, the external energy of the Lord, this what is called Bahir Anga Shakti. The Lord has three main energies. What are the three energies of the Lord? We mentioned one. External energy, this material energy, that is called Bahir Anga Shakti. Yeah. And in the purport, Prabhupada mentions about Tatastha Shakti, the living entity, Jiva. Yeah, we are the Tatastha Shakti. Tatastha means marginal, can go either on the material side or on the spiritual side. And of course, the internal energy of the Lord, Antaranga Shakti, that is the spiritual world. So, because both the spiritual world and the material world originates from Krishna, therefore the Lord is all-pervading, present everywhere. And therefore knows everything about his creation. Yes. So it means that everything is in ways that are very inconceivable, we cannot understand, are working under the guidance and the direction of the Lord. Just like we see in the material world, some big business person. There's some people who are like billionaires. They are very intelligent, very powerful, and through different agents or persons, they perform many activities. They have many companies, many businesses. through their direction, through their inspiration, they are making so many things happen. So in a similar way, the Lord, who is the most powerful, who is the most intelligent, he has many agents in the material world who are arranging and making all things happen. So so the point is being made here is that of these two, of the spiritual world and material world, those who are in the material world are called conditioned souls, because in the material world, although it is also very big, the living entity is conditioned by the modes of material nature. As Prabhupada mentioned in the purport, those who live within the spiritual expansion of the Lord, means in the spiritual world, they're called liberated souls, mukta jiv. And those who are within the material world, they're called baddha jiv. But Bhagavad Gita explains that actually the living entity in the material world, by taking shelter of the Daivi Prakriti, internal energy of the Lord, he can experience actually the spiritual world. Yeah. In the spiritual world, mukta jiv, liberated souls, their qualities are the same as Krishna. Krishna, he is Satchit Ananda Vigraha. He is eternal, full of knowledge, chit, and full of Ananda happiness. But those living entities in the material world, their body is not eternal. And they are full of ignorance, so many things they don't know. And they're full of unhappiness or suffering. Yeah. So when we come in contact with this knowledge that is in the Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, we can learn, this is nicely explained actually in many places in the Bhagavad Gita, we can learn to again reinstate ourselves, or we can learn to revive our original nature. Krishna explains actually in the 14th chapter how in the very beginning of this chapter, idam jnanam upasritya mama sadharmyam agataha sargepi nupajayante pralaye na vyatanti cha. This is Bhagavad Gita 14:2. The translation is, by becoming fixed in this knowledge, in this transcendental knowledge, yeah, one can attain to the transcendental nature which is like my own nature. Yeah. Those who are cultivating this knowledge, what is called Atma Tattva, the knowledge of the soul. Then Sargepi Nupajayante Pralaye Na Vyatanti Cha. They will not be, they will no longer be destroyed. Destroyed means every time we are taking birth in the material world, what are the 6? 5 plus 1. 5 plus 1. There are 6 stages in life. Everyone, without exception, must go through these 6 changes in life. What are those 6 changes? First one is birth. We are all born. We have a mother, father. So birth, then second is growth. Now body is 11 years old. In a few days it will be 12 years old. Then being born, growing, staying for some time. Then byproducts. Byproducts means one gets married, they will have children. Isn't it? Byproducts. Actually, that's the third one. Growth, birth, growth, byproducts. Then fourth is stay for some time. Number 5 is, after some time, that is called the dwindling stage of life. Getting old. Yes. The eyesight becoming less. Cannot hear so much. Cannot digest. Have to walk with a cane. Or have to walk in a wheelchair, not walk, but have to be to move in a wheelchair. That's called the dwindling stage of life. And what is the last one? Death. Yeah. So birth, growth, byproduct, staying for some time, and dwindling stage, and then death. And in between all of that, there is miseries, disease. Janma, Bhagavad Gita refers to Janma Mritu Jara Vyadi, Dukado Sanudarsanam. This is the nature of the material world. those who are completely devoid of transcendental knowledge, those who are not fortunate to have this knowledge of Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, they are constantly continuing this, it is called the wheel of samsara. Samsara. Yes. Going round and round and round. And the main factor is we are, due to ignorance, we are suffering in so many ways. Therefore, the importance of knowing that there is something beyond this body, beyond this material world. So this verse here is nice explaining that when we become fixed in this knowledge, when we cultivate and become fixed in this knowledge, because actually the previous verse, which is verse number 1 of this 14th chapter, is nicely explaining Sri Bhagavan Uvacha Param Bhuya Pravakshyami Jnananam Jnanam Uttamam Yas Yadva Muraya Sarve Param Siddhim Itogataha. So Krishna is explaining to Arjuna here. Again, I shall declare to you this supreme wisdom, the best of all knowledge, knowing which all the sages have attained to supreme perfection. Means, since time immemorial, those who are known as munis, Muni, just like Narada Muni. Muni means one who is having knowledge. Yeah. Muni. Muni means one who is cultivating knowledge. So Krishna is explaining here that since time immemorial, people who have cultivated this knowledge, they have attained what is called the Param Siddhim. Param Siddhim. Param Siddhim means the perfectional stage of life. What is the perfectional stage of life? What is the perfectional stage of life? To know about the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Yes. About his leelas, pastimes. Yes. Param Siddhim means regaining our original transcendental nature. This body is not the real thing. This body, we have this body due to our previous karma. All of us, we have good karma because we have human body. But this human body is also full of defects. We all have different limitations. Uh, so, yes. So Param Siddhim actually means attaining our original transcendental form and is re-establishing our relationship with Krishna. Yeah. So this is a nice example being given here, how um, we look at night in the sky and we see we cannot count how many stars. Did you ever try to count how many stars? It is, yeah, it is beyond our, we have no understanding. Yeah, they are, when the astronauts go in their Sputnik, they take picture of our planet. We think we have a big planet, but our planet is like one small dot. From far, far away, our planet is like practically cannot see it. Yes. And there's hundreds and thousands, millions, billions, trillions of planets. And our Shastra, according to Shastra, there is life on all these planets also. Yeah. So it means that this material world is like amazing. It is beyond our understanding. It's very wonderful. Material nature actually is very wonderful. It's like sunrise is very beautiful. In some places, people they travel near the ocean somewhere, in some special places where, especially when the sun rising is very, yeah, Rameshwaram, yeah. There are many places. Every country has its own place. And those who are photographers, they have their cameras waiting for the sun. They spend so much money to get the best camera, to get the best picture. And because even before the sun rises, before we see the sun, we can see many colors. Krishna is a very wonderful artist. He's the most wonderful artist. Yes. So therefore, he is such an artist that every single moment, yeah, he is making new and new, because the whole cosmic manifestation is constantly changing, isn't it? So all of this is happening because there is some source of that energy. That energy is coming from that source, means that original source, which is Krishna, Krishna's energy. So the defect of modern science is that they study the creation without studying the creator. It's just like if you see a new car and you become very attracted to that car and you start to study the car, the intelligent person will want to know who made this car. But people who are of less intelligence, they are not asking that question. Who made this? Who is making? Who is sustaining this material cosmic manifestation? So the Bhagavatam gives us a little glimpse, little understanding of through this explanation of the universal form of the Lord here. So let's read again the translation to text 17. The sun illuminates both internally and externally by expanding its radiation. Similarly, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, by expanding His universal form, maintains everything in the creation both internally and externally. Yeah. So, any question? Jai Grantharaj Srimad Bhagavatam ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada ki, Gaura Premanandi.
Jai.